Kalecgos, now the aspect of the blue dragonfly, is a highly intelligent, powerful, and kind-hearted dragon who was given his title after the fall of the original blue aspect. But did you know that when the blue dragonflight was seeking out another dragon to choose as their aspect, he was actually scared of taking up the mantle? Well, in this video, you'll find out why. After the fall of the Lich King and during the events of Deathwing's Cataclysm, the blue dragonflights kept their distance from the bronze, green, and red flights, having been too focused on choosing another dragon to lead their people. With this choice came two individuals who gained support from their flight. One was Kalecgos, noble, wise, and who wanted nothing more than unity amongst their brother and sister dragonflights, as well as the lesser beings of Azeroth, being the orcs and the humans. The other was Arygos, the son to Kalecgos, who gained support of the older dragons who wanted nothing more than to isolate themselves from their fellow dragons and focus primarily on strengthening and empowering the blue dragonflight and the blue dragonflight alone. However, this was the mentality of Kalecgos in Wrath of the Lich King, and many of the blues feared choosing him because they feared that his admiration for his father might once again damn them. However, before the day of the ritual of choosing a dragon to become their aspect, Thrall, who was sent by Nosdormu to seek out the blue dragonflight, had a private conversation with Kalecgos. In their talk, Kalecgos admitted to Thrall that he had his doubts of becoming an aspect, should his people deem him worthy. He stated to Thrall that the mantle of aspect, along with the responsibilities and powers granted unto him once he was made one, would most likely change him for the worse. And the reason why he thought this was because of the other aspects. The other aspects were given their powers long before he was given his, and many of them had gone mad. Kalecgos, who was once stated to be as kind and light of heart as Kalecgos was, became insane when Deathwing nearly eradicated the entire blue dragonflight after the forging of the demon soul. Following this, Kalecgos retreated back to the Nexus, where he hid for ages, tormented by the guilt for his role in convincing his brother and sister aspects to infuse the dragon soul. But things only got worse with time. Kalecgos eventually began to regain his sanity, sparking hope in his flight as well as the other flights. But that hope quickly turned to horror as Kalecgos deemed the magic wielded by lesser races as unacceptable, fearing that they would cause another coming of the Burning Legion like the Highborn did. And so he ignited a war against the Kirin Tor and all lesser races, which ultimately ended in his death. Nosdormu also was experiencing major issues. Going back to the time of the Cataclysm, Nosdormu had also become lost in the Timeways, his own dominion. Kalecgos feared that if one of the wisest of the aspects was able to have been lost in his own dominion, then he would fare no better as well. Especially since Kalecgos too had become lost in his own different way. Also at this time, Alexstrasza the Lifebinder, the aspect who once held the other dragonflights in unity, was a broken shell of her former self. She was going down the path of madness after discovering that Krasus had conjured a massive explosion, killing a clutch of red dragons in the Ruby Sanctum. This betrayal by her mate took her by absolute surprise, and all hope within her was shattered and gone. Although in time, it is revealed that Krasus conjured the explosion because the clutch of red dragons was corrupted by the Twilight's hammer, it was not revealed until later, which led Alexstrasza to despair for a good amount of time. Finally, the last dragon aspect, the Earth Warder, Neltharion. Neltharion was driven mad by the old gods, betraying his fellow flights and nearly killing every single blue dragon. So far gone was Neltharion that he was no longer referred to as the noble aspect that he once was. Instead, he took up the name of Deathwing, creating his own cataclysm which sent the world into chaos. His dragonflight took part in horrific experiments which led to the creation of the Twilight Dragonflight, dragons that should not be, as well as the creation of the Chromatic Dragons, horrific abominations that have traits from all 5 dragonflights combined into a single dragon. So at this point, the only aspect that was not insane or had not gone insane was Ysera and Nosdormu. But there is something to also note. Remember when I said that Nosdormu was lost in the Timeways? Well, with Thrall's help, he was eventually free, but once he was free, he told his entire flight and Thrall that he saw a future where he too had gone mad for some unknown reason and had become the leader of the Infinite Dragonflight. That makes 4 aspects: Kalecgos, Alexstrasza to an extent, Neltharion, and Nosdormu in a possible future reality. That is why taking up the mantle of becoming an aspect is so risky. You first accept the power to protect the world, but then after a millennia, you either become corrupted, are driven mad, or simply lose hope and go back on all that you stand for. However, as Thrall realized Kalecgos' concern, he stated that it is indeed a huge responsibility, but you will never know what will happen unless you take that chance. Kalecgos, realizing now that even though it was something that he may not be prepared for, he took the chance of becoming an aspect, for if Arygos took the mantle, then their people would truly be damned. And this was proven correct when the Blue Dragons chose Kalecgos as their aspect, and Arygos betrayed his entire people by signaling the Twilight's Hammer clan and Twilight Dragons to attack the Blue Flight. So blinded by his hatred for the lesser races and so motivated by the urge of wanting to become an aspect, he had sided with Deathwing and the Twilight's Hammer in order to achieve his goals. However, to cut it short, the Blues survived the attack and managed to defend their home of the Nexus. And that is why Kalecgos was scared of becoming an aspect, guys. As Thrall stated, he wasn't a coward, he was wise to think ahead.